Hey everyone, it's Stephanie, and you're tuned in to the review of Married at First Sight, Happily Ever After, Season 1, Episode 5. So let's just get into it. The baby is here. Laura Denise is here. Shawniece and Jephte had their baby. I mean, we know that in real life, but, on the episode, they kicked it off with her going into labor. She went into labor a month early. Thank God everything was okay. Baby's healthy, and, life really already began for them with this whole experiment and kind of what they've gone through, but it really began with that because, they're at a very fragile place, but they're kind of moving through it. I think they're kind of both checked out. Shawniece is checked out understandably because she's guarded and hurt, and, I don't know if Jephte really ever checked back in. I'm thinking that he keeps verbalizing checking back in for the sake of his daughter, but I don't really think that he checked back in. And I really don't even like that he chose the behavior he chose, with the excuses of they were separated and all that. So, the more I think about it, the more I don't necessarily think that the dynamic is great or long-term. But I also, people can do what they want to do. So, we watch them navigate all of these things, but then boom, the baby is here, and much sooner. We knew the baby was coming, but much sooner than we expected. And now, they're going through this with a new baby, kind of looking at this baby, comparing, who her nose looks like and her lips. And she wasn't prepared to go to the hospital. None of their stuff was set up. She didn't have her bag. So he goes back to their place with her mom and gets stuff and brings it to her, and he's so excited. Jephte is so excited about the baby, which is a beautiful thing to see. But if you notice, a lot of his verbiage is always baby first, wife second. I want to be a great dad and husband. I know I'm going to be a great dad. I'm working on being a great husband. I love my daughter. I love my wife, or I'm loving my wife, or learning to love my, it just, I know he's wanting to try. To me, I'm listening to what's not being said. Okay. That's my superpower. It's I don't really care about what you said. I'm hearing what you're not saying. And even in the order that you're saying it, and that might be a little crazy every now and then, but there's something to that where the consistent messaging from him subconsciously, because I don't think he even realizes it, is the baby is first and Shawniece is second. I don't really think Shawniece is on the list. I think she has to be because the baby, goes with her. It's the connection to the baby. So, we watch them kind of go through the first few days of parenthood, I think about a week. And, they celebrate their 1-year anniversary. And I think the baby is at this point 7 days old. And so Shawniece, she, hats off, girl, because she sets up this little, dinner, and he brought the dinner, but she sets up the table and she jazzed herself up as best as she knew how, and the baby bassinet is right there. She got him a really nice gift. He shows up with the food, but no gift. That really, I was done with him at that point. No gift. To me, that reflected really no thought. It wasn't sneaking up on you. And he made it seem like it's the baby that threw him off with the gift. And even in the confessional, he said he was lying about it. But it's not the baby that threw you off for a gift, because the baby wasn't even supposed to be here for another month. So you really had nothing planned, which to me, if you're working so hard on your marriage, you don't have room to have nothing planned for an anniversary. I would assume, and men tell me something else, but I would assume, men, that you would be on it about, okay, the anniversary's coming, I'm working on this, if you really want to work on it, and make sure you get your wife something very significant to not that gifts show everything, but hello, it's the anniversary. That's a great way to, reaffirm another way of how you love her. He didn't have anything. He blamed it on the baby. So you didn't have anything, and you're a liar. Surprise, you've been lying. And then you didn't even think quickly. So for me, if you didn't have a gift, or maybe you ordered something late when you realized what day it was, why didn't you come home with some flowers? Just something so thoughtful. She just had a baby. She had a baby, okay? That's like not too, it's not an easy job to physically do that all year. He even said something like, she said, I've been, pregnant for 9 months, and he was like 8. I know he thought he was being funny, but that would have been an assault for me. Like, you don't get to say 8 because she had the baby a month early, but she had enough thought, and she made enough effort with a brand new baby, like 5 minutes old, to buy you a gift, and a thoughtful one at that, a really nice one. And you couldn't get it together to even get some cheap flowers from a grocery store. So once again, she is showing up in a way that he is not. And to me, it's reflective of a lot of things. So that's Shawniece and Jephte. He even goes in for a kiss, and she is not about that life. Like, she shuts him down. And he kind of feels some kind of way about it, but he understands. And to me, it's not enough to just try to be, affectionate, because affection is really just emotion. If the emotion is not there, then the affection will not be like expressed or even desired. So we can see that she's still in a certain space where she's not going to pop kiss you like nothing happened, and that is very telling for me, the space that she's in, no matter what the surface may look like with the two of them. He gets advice from his friend. His friend is a great friend to have, because his friend speaks to him in a very mature way and gives him advice that is beneficial for the marriage, which is what you want when you have a friend when you're married. You just don't want somebody who's like team you, because you were done the moment you got married. So yes, that person will always, be team you, because their allegiance is naturally to you. But if they're a mature friend who supports your marriage, then they're going to support the best interest of the marriage. Meaning, if you're wrong, they're going to tell you you're wrong, because that benefits your marriage and your union and the longevity of that. So I really enjoyed watching him have that conversation with his friend. So that's Shawniece and Jephte. We'll see how they mosey along next episode. So Ashley and Anthony had a pretty decent episode this week. They are kind of in the throes of trying to get a new house. Ashley really wants to get a new house. There isn't much space. She is kind of thinking about, what the place is going to look like. And she's just really starting to get into an early nesting phase where things need to be ready now. Like, she wants to be prepared for the baby, which is natural. It usually happens later on in pregnancy, but it's natural because she's thinking space. And I do get it. Whereas like Bobby and Danielle, which we will deal with in a second, whereas, Bobby and Danielle want the same thing. It's not the same thing, because I'm a Chicago girl too originally. So I get the space that they're in. It's small, things are tight, and all of the space is already utilized. So when you start thinking about adding more things, I get how it feels suffocating. For her though, because Anthony doesn't want to make some quick decision and make this major investment rushed, it seems to be frustrating. I think he's open to moving as well. He just is okay with waiting. And in her eyes, she doesn't want to prepare for this baby in this space and then move with a brand new baby. I see all sides. I still think that they need to take their time in making the decision. And if it's inconvenient, then it's inconvenient. Because the last thing you want to do is pull the trigger on getting a house, rush it, and it's not right. Or you could have gotten something better a few months later, or it could have made more financial sense. And then it's like, you didn't do it. Like, that is probably more regretful than kind of having to do it all over again. And you can have resources, with a brand new baby, maybe you hire somebody out, maybe you have more family help you. But if you get a house and it's not right, or the deal isn't great, no, that's just what you got to deal with. So although I totally understand the space that she's in, because she's prepping, I'm gonna take Anthony's side with just wanting to be smart about such a major investment. I don't know how it'll turn out, because she's Ashley. Love her, but she is uncompromising when it's something she wants to do, when she wants to do it. And it's good to see their dynamic. I even said watching it, okay, he's great for her, because she's like, this is what I want right now. And he's like, I'm open to looking. Like, we can do a pros and cons list. He needs to be that guy. Because if he was as, like, you know, much, I'll use that word, if he was as much as she is, that dynamic wouldn't work. It wouldn't be beneficial, and they wouldn't kind of move through things. So it's great to see them balance each other out and not make it a thing. There's also hormones involved, so it probably will become a thing, but it's just good to see him kind of hold his own. And that's a good example of him setting his boundary about not just 100% being on board because that's what she wants. But still kind of, you know, moving along because it is an option, and that's something that they both want to do. So that is Ashley and Anthony. So we'll see how that turns out next week. Last, but certainly not least, we have Bobby and Danielle. I don't know, guys. Bobby and Danielle, first of all, I'm missing the big thing. Like, Bobby said no this week, and I'm so excited for him because, you know, we didn't think you were going to make it. You know, we really didn't. He finally said no. Danielle wanted, you know, her dog's teeth cleaned and possibly pulled, and she was saying it could be $500, but it can go upwards to $5,000 upwards to $1,000. But in a conversation later on, she says she would spend $5,000. Like, there's no amount that she wouldn't spend for Henry. So Bobby's not about that. He's like, listen, you want to move, you know, because we know he doesn't want to move. He said, you know, he made a little petty comment. I wish he would have just said it out loud instead of being like passive aggressive, but I was happy he made it anyways. He kind of said, you know, you tagged everything in the house, tagging things to go, which means you want to move. You want all brand new furniture. You are possibly transitioning to not working, and you want to now spend this money on something that really doesn't have to be spent, you know. And her concern is, once again, the dog. And so he finally said no. She took it on the chin, but she's gotten away with murder. So, like, I feel like in her mind, she's like, okay, you know, lost the battle, didn't lose the war type of thing. And we don't really know how she responded because she's not really authentic on camera. So I was happy to see that, though, because it's like, where is the line? You know, where is the boundary? Where is you sharing how you feel, especially when really the weight is about to go on you? Not to say they can't compromise or she can't get something she wants, but the full weight of all of these changes at the same time is going to be on you. So I'm glad that he put his foot down, you know, baby steps before the real baby steps, so that they can finally get into a decent dynamic. Pastor Cal came to see them. I feel like every week I see the experts with the couples, and that's what I love seeing. I think that's what I'm missing on Married at First Sight, because I feel like they're a little too hands-off, but we're seeing them kind of every week. I don't know what that really translates to in real time, but I love that they're doing that because they need that support. And I love that Pastor Cal is the one who is meeting with Bobby and Danielle. I think all the experts have their strengths, and I think, you know, therapy or, you know, being a life coach or whatever of the helping industry, it's all a relationship. So that means that there could be 3 great therapists in a room. You won't resonate with all 3. There will be one that you just have to have, because that's the one that just gets you, or they get it, or they give you what you need. And I feel like Pastor Cal is the one, you know, he's not a therapist, he's a marriage counselor and a pastor, but he's the one who gives them what they need, the way they need to hear it. He kind of brings it back up, because Pastor Cal's the squeaky wheel in their marriage. Like, why aren't y'all having an argument? Are you being authentic? Are you really sharing how you feel? Are you responding the way that you really should respond? And, you know, he's pushing the issues because he can see them, you know. And, you know, he brings up have they had an argument yet? And she says, no, we've had a disagreement. And, you know, he brings up, do you have to move? And Bobby's like, you know, Bobby is like literally thirsty in a desert in Pastor Cal's water. He literally is like, I brought that up. Like, please hear me. Anybody, SOS, you know? And, you know, Danielle says something so selfish about, well, I'm going to be upset if I'm home with the baby and no storage. And it was just so, I like went back to like 8th grade in my mind. It's like what a 14-year-old would say. Someone who has no awareness of what things cost, what things really mean, what responsibility is. They don't have to care about that because they're 14, you know. Life is about good times right now. And it made me more sick of her than I already am, because once again, you know, that's the concern. And it's basically a threat. Like, if I am home with this brand new baby and we're not in a new house with more storage, then I'm going to be pissed and you're going to feel it. And he would feel it. Like, she would not be a nice person. That's 100% what I think it would be, because the way she said it let me know what she really meant about it, which means like, you don't want to piss me off. Like, you want to get this new house so that I'm not sitting at home, because when you come home from work, you're not going to come home to something fun. So Bobby will probably get the new house, but it was just so immature because it's like threats. And, you know, I'm starting to feel less and less bad for Bobby, because I'm like, listen, we can't be more upset about it than you are. But, you know, it just was really immature to me. On top of I would spend $5,000 if I needed to. I'd spend $25,000 on Henry. Like, there has got to be limits and priorities. And she says that because she's like, you know, now it's Bobby and us and our family and we have to prioritize. But she doesn't get that. She's very reckless. She's very immature. And to be like a fully functioning adult, it blows my mind that she doesn't understand the significance of pulling back. And like, she really has to be told all of these things. Even about the dog, you know, and Pastor Cal's better than me, because he dove into, you know, why the dog, why so much about that? And she's like, well, you know, Henry's been there since the beginning. I don't even care about that. Like, I don't care how long he's been there. Yes, he's significant to you, but like, you have a new husband, you have a baby on the way, and you're not going to be working anymore. Like, you know, the math doesn't add up there. And instead of like helping and being proactive and being a nurturer of the home and supporting kind of like the home goal, it's very much her. It's very much what I want in this marriage, what I want my life to look like in this marriage. It's not like what I want our lives to look like, where both of us have to take an L every now and then. He may not get something he wants, you may not get something you want, but collectively we get what we want. No, it's like how I want myself to look in this marriage, what I want my life to look like in this marriage. And the marriage has to make my life look the way that I want, because he will be paying for these things. So it's just really, really selfish. And, you know, I just don't have patience for it. So I spend the majority of my time rolling my eyes during their scenes. And I really think it was too soon for them to come back on TV. I know they're pregnant, so it made sense, and let's add this third person, but I don't think any of us really wanted to see them like 5 seconds after we barely got through season 7, and this is this is just a reminder of that. So that's Bobby and Danielle, but gold star, I'll end on a positive note. Gold star for them, for Bobby saying no, for Bobby standing up for himself, and really for the home, like, and just setting a boundary, because it's just not happened. So I completely forgot to mention in this video, I mentioned in my other review, I'm excited to be sharing that I'll be doing a virtual Q&A. Several people have been asking for various services, and I figured this would be a cool way to kind of kick it off. At some point I'll do another event or a live event, but this would be a very cool way to kind of kick it off and get all your questions answered in a more intimate space, and we can connect with each other. So if you are interested in that, I'm probably going to do it within the next 3 weeks. If you're interested, just leave your email below. That way I will be able to send you that information when it's ready, and then we'll go from there. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like, and I will see you guys next week. Everyone have a great week.